Welcome to the first video. In this one we will write our first simple program and we'll take a look at some of the basics. Okay, so crank up Visual Studio Community as I have it here. So make a new project, so click New Project. You choose Console Application under Visual C#. Leave the settings below as they are, click OK. Okay, here we go. So, for our purposes, we'll begin with something very simple. First of all, let's take a look at this block that says using. Using what exactly? This here block introduces external functionality into the program. And you see, if you click here where it says references, you see where it says Microsoft.C#, system, system.core, system.data, and so on. So these are references to external functionality that our program needs to work well. Okay? Now by default you're given these here, but we don't really need all of them. So if you want to remove unnecessary usings, this is what you can do. You can right click and then organize usings and then remove unused usings. You see? Okay, and they go away. If you want to reverse something, just click that button and they come back. Okay? So this is what I want you to do. Place a cursor where mine is flickering, hit enter, and now you're going to type console.writeLine like this. Okay, and it says writes the current line terminated to the standard output stream. And now you're going to say welcome to our first program, period, close with a semicolon, like that. Okay? Alright, so here is collapse this. And now what I'm going to do is talk about a comment. So to make a comment, you're going to put 2 slashes and say this is the entry point into the program, like this. So we see where it says main, that's the entry point into the program. There you go. So static void main, entry point into the program. We'll talk about the meaning of static and void, in much more depth eventually. But for our purposes, entry point into the program. And notice that this is all collapsible. So if you click here, you see, you can collapse it, expand it, and notice there's some logical hierarchy here, obviously, because if you keep expanding these, you see that? So that means this is nested within main, and then main is nested within class program, and then class program is nested within the namespace. Okay? So this is the logical organization of the program here. Okay? Now namespace is basically a collection of related functionality. Now, right click these usings again, organize usings, and then remove unused usings. And notice that this time only using system stays. That's it. Okay, everything else has been removed. This is a comment here in green. And now I'm going to show you a couple different things. So give this a build. And you can, choose whichever way you like. Okay, so now you can go to debug and you can start without debugging, and it says press any key to continue, and it says welcome to our first program. So welcome to our first program is our code, and then press any key to continue is generated by the system. If you have trouble seeing this window here, we can click here, choose properties, and you can adjust. You see the font, for example, you can change that. Okay, so 12 by 16, click OK. And now you see it makes that window much bigger, so you can see it more vividly and clearly if you want. Let's see, click here, properties, there you go, see the layout. Okay, you can change the width if you want, the window size, and so on. Okay, there you go. So welcome to our first program, press any key to continue, click enter. This is one way of doing it. Another way to do it, if you want, is if you want to do it with debugging. You see this here says debug, okay, and start without debugging. If you want to do it with debugging, okay, if I start debugging, give it a second. Debugging is a way of, you see, it vanished from the window, okay, from the screen. So what I'm going to do is this instead. I will type console.read. And notice there are 3 of them. There's read, read key, and read line. You can, for our purposes, you can use any of these. It doesn't matter. Okay. This is just designed to keep the window from vanishing. Okay. And then end that with a semicolon. So now, if you go to debug and start debugging, okay, it says welcome to our first program, and then it waits for user input, and so it keeps the window from vanishing. Also, if you want, as you work, keep your window here over Visual Studio, you can do that by using a program called Window on Top. I use this program, it's free. Okay, it looks like this. You can drag and place this here. So now even if you switch your focus to Visual Studio, you see this window here will stay on top during this process. Okay? Then to, of course, unload it, you hit this button that says Stop Debugging, Shift F5 if you like buttons. On my computer, I have short fingers, it's not a thing that I like to do. Okay, so that looks like this. And here I want to show you one more thing now that looks like the following. If you expand program.cs, you see this? Okay, see that little icon? It looks like a tree structure, that's the class structure. And then it says main, and that main, as you can see, it says string with a couple of square brackets, and then void. So void is what's known as the return type. It's a function. There you go. So function main many times, and this is common throughout most of programming. Function main is the entry point into the program. So that looks like this. And let's see. That's it. So make sure you get to this point here, and remember to add comments. You can type that like this, and then add a comment. This is a single line comment for our purposes, and remove the using so the code looks much cleaner. Okay, and I've shown a couple different options of debug and start debugging if you want, or start without debugging, but I will do a lot of debugging. I will do a lot of console.read and read line and read key. Okay, and that's it. So thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.